தோழர் கேபி சசி அவர்கள் சமூக செயற்பாட்டாளர், ஆவணப்பட இயக்குனர், கார்ட்டூனிஸ்ட், கவிஞர், எழுத்தாளர் என பன்முகம் கொண்ட மக்களின் கலைஞர். தலித் விடுதலை, தேசிய இன விடுதலை, பழங்குடி மக்களின் உரிமை, மத சிறுபான்மையினரின் உரிமை ஆகியவற்றுக்காக பல தளத்திலும் செயலாற்றி வருபவர். முதலாளித்துவ அரசுகளின் வளர்ச்சி கோட்பாடுகளுக்கு எதிராகவும் ஒடுக்கப்பட்ட மக்களின் மீதான அரச வன்முறைக்கு எதிராகவும் தொடர்ந்து எழுதி வருவதோடு இல்லாமல் பல ஆவண படங்களையும் இயக்கியவர். இவரது படங்கள் உலகின் பல திரைப்பட விழாக்களில் திரையிடப்பட்டு பாராட்டுகளையும் பெற்றுள்ளன. மத சிறுபான்மையினருக்கு எதிராக இந்துத்துவ தீவிரவாதிகளால் நிகழ்த்தப்பட்ட கந்தமால் கலவரத்தை பற்றி எடுக்கப்பட்ட இவரது வாய்ஸஸ் ஃப்ரம் த கந்தமால் இன் சர்ச் ஆஃப் ஜஸ்டிஸ் என்ற ஆவணப்படம் மிகுந்த முக்கியத்துவம் வாய்ந்தது. அப்படிப்பட்ட தோழர் திரு கேபி சசி அவர்களை பேச அன்போடு அழைக்கிறோம்.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I have to speak in English because I do not speak Tamil. Thank you very much, May 17 movement, for giving me this opportunity to speak. You know, Gandhi died of 3 bullets from an RSS worker. Those who murdered were banned later. RSS was banned as a part of the murder. Interestingly, Sardar Patel himself was responsible for banning of the murder, banning of the RSS, where Modi tries to quote Patel all the time. Those who are responsible for the murder and justified the murder are ruling our country today. But we don't have to be afraid, because we have another Gandhi, Tirumurugan Gandhi. And if you compare the 2 Gandhis, you will find a difference. You will find a difference at many edges. I am a Keralite. I speak Malayalam, though I spend most of my time outside Kerala. At the same time, I consider the Tamil is my mother tongue, even though. Because we came from Tamil. Malayalis came from Tamil actually. During the Aryan invasion, those who came towards Tamil Nadu, they entered Kerala, what is known as Kerala today. At that time there was no Kerala. Southern Kerala, they crossed the Western Ghats. And those who crossed the Western Ghats were called Malayali, those who crossed Malay. We picked up Tamil, and then unfortunately we got Sanskritized. So we have more Sanskrit, and that's why we cannot speak in the same musical language like Tamil. Tamil is much more musical, actually. Tamil is much more ancient than Hindi. We are fed with lies. The problem with our history, the history is filled with lies. Problem with Sri Lanka and Tamil issue, everything is filled with lies actually. Historians have told lies to us. So we have to speak the truth. As far as India is concerned, there are 3 he's we have to explore. One is Hindi, which doesn't have a history. Urdu is a much older language. The other is Hindustan. Hindustan means not Hindu, but it means Indus Valley civilization, those who stayed within the Indus Valley civilization. Because the Arabs and Turks could not pronounced the word E, Indus Valley, and he, it came. It is those who stayed near the Indus Valley civilization. It doesn't mean a religion, actually. And that, if you want to explore it, we have to begin with Alexander. Alexander came from this Indus Valley civilization throughout, what is known as Pakistan and Sindh, to that region actually. He conquered. He is called Alexander the Great. He killed a lot of people, and that's why he was called Great. And when he went back, most of the soldiers were staying back. They had their relationships in this Indus Valley civilization. That's why they are fair. And when he went back, he went with a small team to conquer again. But he died out of a mosquito bite. He had malaria. Somebody who conquered and conquered and conquered finally died out of a mosquito bite. The next great person who came was Ashoka the Great. That great person also took the same route, but he reached some more distance. He came up to Kalinga. He killed around 2 lakh people, mainly Adivasis and Dravidians. 2 lakh people. After that, he did not have any reputation. Even though he was called emperor, he didn't have any reputation. People spat on him. So he wondered what to do. People don't respect him. At that time, Buddhism was very respectable because Buddha was against caste discrimination. So he accepted Buddhism. He said, I'm sorry for the murder, killing 2,000 people. If Ambedkar's Indian Constitution was alive at that time, he should be staying in jail for 2,000 years. But he is called Ashoka the Great. And what did he do? There were a Buddhist chakra. Today is called Ashoka Chakra. It is actually Buddhist chakra. And it is there in your currency notes everywhere, in your national flag. Then there are 3 lines that you see. People say there are 4th line also, but it is a governance, joint governance of the Adivasis in Orissa. I met the people there in Orissa. They spit upon him. When you spell the term Ashoka, they spit upon him. The central line is Munda tribe, the joint governance. That is there also in your currency notes and your coins. So if you rub to count your notes, currency notes, you must remember that you are rubbing on the blood of 2 lakh Dravidians and Adivasis. Please remember that. And what did he do after that? He converted upper caste Buddhists. He sent them to Sri Lanka, who were responsible for killing another 1.5 lakh people. History repeated. This time it was a farce. First time history repeats, first time as a tragedy, second time as a farce. He sent people to Singapore, he said Malaysia, all over. Upper caste Buddhists. And that is history. This history we must not forget. When I went to Sri Lanka in jail just before the war, the Colombo jail, I found a huge statue of Buddha. Buddha stood for non-violence. Buddha stood for against caste discrimination. It was a huge statue in front of the jail. And next to that, there was a huge line of women and children waiting to see their fathers and husbands who were picked up by Simhala police. And on false cases, all false cases. So it is quite a sight that here is a statue of Buddha lying there and a huge line of victims of war actually. I didn't have a camera at that time. I could not shoot that. But we have to remember one thing. The history, what we are fed up with, is all filled with lies. India doesn't have a history. If you say ancient Indian history, if you check the Wikipedia, you'll find 7 maps. Ancient Indian history. It doesn't exist. My place, Kerala also didn't exist at that time. Kerala emerged in 1950s. There were 3 countries in our region called Travancore country, Malabar country, and Cochin country. The region which is called Tamil Nadu also was like that. Nobody entered here. Mughals never entered here. There was no medieval Indian history. But you'll find, if you look at the medieval Indian map or ancient Indian map, you'll find the existing Tamil Nadu, existing Kerala, all part of this map. How did this happen? Who drew this map? Why? This is the first question that we have to ask. They have created a false consciousness in our minds. We are all victims of a wrong interpretation of history. Both people of Kerala and people of Tamil Nadu. And the Dravidian culture is supposed to be known as Tamil culture, but no. They are in Kerala, they are in Karnataka, they are in Andhra, they are in Jharkhand, they are in Orissa, they are spread to Malaysia and Southeastern countries. It's a very spread out place, you know. The Aryan invasion, when it took place, the conflict, the 2 things which they said, Rakshasas and Asuras, they meant Dalits and Adivasis actually. If you look at the whole interpretation, this is Dalits and Adivasis. There was no Hinduism as a religion spelt in any Vedas or Upanishads. There is no Hinduism which is spelt as a religion in Shankaracharya. There is no Hinduism as a religion which is spelt in, say, Kabir in 15th, 16th century. He is a Musalman and Brahman. There is only Brahmanism. It is only after Kabir that Hinduism came up. And how did Hinduism come up? It's almost the same time that Hindu and India and Hindi came up at the same time. Who benefited by it? Britishers benefited by it, and the upper caste in this country benefited by it. So we must understand this. India emerged as a company. It is called East India Company. And now it has become a company again under Narendra Modi. Unfortunately, I belong to a state where we became the gateway to all colonial forces. That is Kapad Beach. Portuguese landed up in 1498. Then everybody came through that route. You know, they came for trade and they conquered. They came with Islamophobia and many others came. The war came. At that time there were several countries in India. But Britishers conquered and made this map. When Britishers came, Manipur was not part of India. Kashmir was not part of India. And many places, even in Tamil Nadu, they were not part of India. Let us remember that. So India emerged in the last few centuries. Hinduism emerged in the last few centuries. Hindi emerged in the last few centuries. So when you get up, when you hear national anthem, you must remember one thing. One, that Rabindranath Tagore wrote the national anthem in a sitting position, not in a standing position. And Rabindranath Tagore, the song that he wrote is 5 stanzas. The first stanza, what we hear is edited. First stanza is a geographical description. In that geographical description, several places are missed out also. Rest of the sequences are not geographical, but it talks about people of this country. There, people's rights are mentioned. those were edited out. Who edited it out? You know? And then what we hear in the theatres or wherever it's being played, not even Rabindranath Tagore, we see a music Janaganamana. So we are standing up for the music director, not for the national anthem. So nation has to be redefined, first of all. Nation without people doesn't make sense, as far as I'm concerned. Whether it be Sri Lanka, whether it be any of the Indian subcontinent, I would call it subcontinent. This is a subcontinent of 4,000 cultures. As per the Anthropological Survey of India, where we have 4,000 cultures. An Indian parliament has not represented 4,000 cultures. No cabinet in this country could not represent 4,000 cultures of this subcontinent called India. So how do you manage it? How do you manage the governance of 4,000 cultures is the basic challenge. And in that, nationality comes in that Tamil issue comes in that linguistic colonialism comes in. How language became a colonial order. Why should language be imposed? Sanskrit is spoken by 49,000 people in this country, as per the census records. Santali, Adivasi language, is spoken by 52 lakh people. But they don't teach Santali even in their schools. Bhil language is spoken by 52 lakh people, over 52 lakh people. But they don't speak in central India, you know. They don't teach Bhil language in their own schools. Bhils cannot learn their own language. So there is a linguistic colonialism which we have to address on. And the Tamils were the first as a national wide resistance against the linguistic colonialism. I am proud that my mother tongue is Tamil. Though I cannot speak it. I'm sorry about that. We are a nation, unfortunately or fortunately. Now, how do we go ahead is the question. In terms of Sri Lanka also. In Sri Lanka, we are responsible. If you say we are a nation, we are responsible for what happened in Sri Lanka. Because when I discussed with a Buddhist professor, he was a Marxist Buddhist professor, he said, when he went to the college, he used to go through the river, take a bus, and he used to see women taking bath in the river. After LTT came in, he could see women floating with blood on this side, because they used to rape and kick Coca-Cola bottle on their vaginas actually. So they have done it. LTT has done it. Indian soldiers have done it. Indian soldiers have done much more. And Indian government has also sponsored the violence and genocide. Indian government has not been responsible for the war victims. Why didn't Kerala respond? They responded to Palestine violence, they responded to Iraq violence, they responded to Iraq, Afghanistan, all violence, genocide. Even Manipur they have responded. Iran Shamila is a big heroine in Kerala. But why about Sri Lanka, this genocide was not responded? I still wonder. Why didn't the people in India, in Delhi, why didn't they respond? We tried at the time of war. A few hours, Jagdish Chandra, our friend Siritunga, all we tried. But the response was very limited because one, they didn't know or they didn't want to know. So we have to think about a wider alliance. The alliance, since my time is short, I'll break here. Last point I would like to say, The alliance is, what we have to think about is the alliance of all marginalized identities. Dalits, Adivasis, marginalized nationalities, women, sexuality minorities, linguistic minorities, all marginalized identities, religious minorities. We have to think of wider alliance. And if you think about wider alliance, that will be the revolution in this country. Thank you.